Maylene, you're still at that library. The words, dripping with disdain from Aunt Carol, echoed through the crowded Blake family reunion. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows of St. Jude's, illuminating platters of lukewarm pasta salad and the smug faces of relatives who'd always seen me as the responsible, one code for easily taken advantage of. My stomach dropped as Brandon, radiating undeserved confidence, clapped me on the back, a patronizing smile plastered on his face. He reeked of expensive cologne and recklessness. Just gotta find a good man, Maylene, he boomed, loud enough for half the room to hear. My hands trembled. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed, managing a weak smile. The acceptance letter to the advanced teaching program was burning a hole in my purse. Ever feel invisible? Like your efforts don't matter? Then you need to see what happens next. Trust me, the payback is epic. Subscribe for the full story. The roots of this dynamic stretched back further to Christmases soaked in both tinsel and disappointment. Remember 2005? While Brandon unwrapped a brand new Xbox, complete with the latest games, I received a box of generic art supplies, practical, sure, but hardly comparable. The scent of pine needles and Brandon's triumphant cries filled the air. I wanted to paint a masterpiece, but all I felt was a dull ache of resentment. Then came Brandon's graduation, a lavish affair funded, predictably, by my parents. The venue was a rented banquet hall, the food catered, the speeches glowing with praise for his potential. They toasted his future while subtly suggesting that my ambitions were cute. Maylene, my father chuckled, patting my hand, teaching is a noble profession. Just don't expect to get rich. The real sting arrived during my junior year. I'd poured my heart into an application for a prestigious summer internship, a coveted spot at a local school district. I'd painstakingly crafted my essay, polished my resume, and even secured a glowing recommendation from my favorite professor. Rejection came in a stark, impersonal email. Meanwhile, Brandon, with zero relevant experience, landed a cushy summer job through his father's connection. That's when I knew I was playing a different game. The library shifted from a place of work to a sanctuary, its hushed aisles a stark contrast to the noise of my family's expectations. Each book I shelved, each research paper I graded, fueled my silent ascent. The first milestone, acceptance into the master's program. No fanfare, no family celebration, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd earned it, every step of the way. I pictured myself in the lecture hall, a room filled with like-minded educators, fueled by knowledge and passion rather than empty promises. The studio apartment I rented near campus, a cramped space with peeling paint and a leaky faucet, became my fortress. The dim lighting cast long shadows, highlighting the bare walls and the stack of textbooks threatening to topple over. Evenings were spent hunched over my desk, fueled by instant coffee and sheer determination. No sleep, no social life, no room for self-pity. Then, 2 years later, came the second victory, my first full-time teaching position at a well-regarded private school. The offer letter felt heavy in my hand, a tangible symbol of my unwavering focus. I pictured myself in a classroom, inspiring students, shaping young minds. This new role meant financial security, a chance to finally breathe without the constant weight of worry pressing down. My family remained blissfully ignorant, their inquiries about my life limited to superficial questions about my dating life and the progress of my degree. "Still single, Maylene?" Aunt Carol would ask, her voice tinged with pity, as if my lack of romantic entanglement was the defining characteristic of my existence. Always the same questions, always the same subtle condescension. The moment of potential revelation arrived at Thanksgiving. I arrived at my parents' house, carrying a homemade pumpkin pie and the weight of my secret. Brandon, predictably, was late, having spent the morning at the casino. As we sat around the table, my mother asked about my job search. "Anything promising, dear?" she inquired, a hopeful glint in her eyes. I hesitated, the truth hovering on the tip of my tongue. But something held me back. Not yet, not until I decided the time was right. "Just the usual," I replied, forcing a smile. "Nothing exciting." A sudden hush fell over the reunion as Great Aunt Mildred, notorious for her dramatic pronouncements, wheezed into the microphone. "Time for the family raffle," she announced, her voice cracking. My pulse quickened. The prize. A week at a lakefront cabin, the very one I secretly owned. I'd bought it last year as a quiet escape, a reward for surviving another semester. The irony wasn't lost on me. The air thickened with anticipation, the scent of pot roast and cheap perfume mingled unpleasantly. Aunt Carol, fueled by cheap wine, grabbed the microphone. And the winner is Maylene Blake. I froze, every eye in the room on me. Brandon's jaw dropped. The cabin was a status symbol, something he should have won. I hadn't mentioned my purchase to anyone, strategically avoiding any discussion. My phone buzzed, a text from my realtor, urgent, call now. Panic surged. Could they have found out about the sale? I excused myself, the weight of their collective gaze burning into my back. It was happening now. Maylene, it's about the cabin. The realtor's voice was strained. Your parents, they need to borrow against it. My blood turned to ice. Absolutely not, I said, my voice trembling but firm. It was my turn to take control. Absolutely not, I said, my voice trembling but firm. This was my moment. I marched back into the hall, the realtor's panicked pleas fading into background noise. Aunt Carol was already launching into a diatribe about my supposed good fortune, her voice sharp with envy. Always the quiet one, aren't you, Maylene? Now look at you, winning a fancy vacation. I took a deep breath, silencing the internal storm. Actually, I said, my voice carrying across the room, I already own a cabin. The words hung in the air, a small bomb detonating in the midst of their self-congratulatory gathering. Brandon choked on his beer, sputtering, "You what?" His face flushed crimson, a stark contrast to his carefully cultivated image of success. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her chest. My father stared, his eyes wide with disbelief. The room was utterly silent. And that's not all, I continued, my voice gaining strength with each word. I also have a full-time teaching position at North Shore Academy. And I've just been accepted into an advanced teaching program at Northwestern, fully funded by a scholarship I earned. Aunt Carol's mouth worked soundlessly, her earlier smugness replaced with a gaping void. My father's shoulders slumped. My mother's eyes welled with tears. Brandon's face was a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. So no, I concluded, my gaze sweeping across their stunned faces. I won't be lending you my cabin. I've worked too hard for everything I have, I earned it. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally my mother broke it, her voice a strained whisper. Maylene, honey, why didn't you tell us? I met her gaze, unflinching. Would you have listened, or would you have found another way to borrow it? The rhetorical question hung between us, unanswered. Brandon scoffed, recovering his swagger. So you're doing well, big deal. It's not like you're saving lives. His words, intended to diminish, only solidified my resolve. No, Brandon, I replied, my voice level. I'm not saving lives, but I am building one mine, something you seem incapable of doing. My father, who'd been silent until now, stepped forward, his face etched with a mixture of guilt and bewilderment. The college fund, Maylene, we were going to pay you back. I laughed, a short, sharp sound that echoed in the suddenly oppressive silence. You laughed then, you're not laughing now. I thought, pay me back, with what? Empty promises. My mother attempted a manipulative plea, you know we only did it for Brandon. That's the problem, I shot back. Always Brandon, what about me? Silence is my ally, I reminded myself. Let them squirm. Let them finally see the consequences of their choices. Brandon tried once more, come on Maylene, don't be like that, family helps family. Family also doesn't steal from family, I countered, the words clipped and cold. Consider this my payback. I've played my hand, the game has changed. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at the screen, a notification from the county clerk's office. My secret weapon, the final piece. There's one more thing you should know, I said, my voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I paused, letting the suspense build. About Brandon's house. Brandon's bravado wavered, he shifted uneasily. What about it? Remember when you needed a co-signer for the mortgage, and Dad couldn't because of his credit, I asked, knowing very well that he did. His eyes narrowed. Yeah, so. Well, I continued, a slight smile playing on my lips. I stepped in, quietly. The loan is under my name. A collective gasp filled the room. The color drained from my mother's face. My father stumbled backward, grabbing onto a chair for support. Even Aunt Carol seemed momentarily speechless. Brandon's face contorted in disbelief. You co-signed, but you were just a student. He couldn't comprehend that I had, even then, the foresight and financial discipline he lacked. Technically, I'm the primary owner, I corrected him gently. You're just living there. That's right, the primary owner. This fact changed everything. Brandon's eyes flickered between rage and panic. You can't do that, he sputtered. That's my house. Legally, it's mine, I stated, emphasizing the word legally. The bank had been more than happy to work with me, understanding the situation and impressed by my credit score. My family had no idea. I continued, and since you abandoned Luca and I've been informed you're behind on mortgage payments, I am beginning foreclosure proceedings next week. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. I could feel their shock, their anger, their utter disbelief. This wasn't just about a cabin or a teaching job. This was about control. I had their security, their comfort, their home in my hands. Years drifted by, marked by tentative calls from my parents. I remained cordial yet distant. Their apologies felt hollow, their attempts at connection tinged with self-serving remorse. Luca, however, became my focus. He flourished under my support, his laughter a balm to old wounds. Teaching gave me purpose, Luca a reason. My life blossomed. The studio apartment was exchanged for a sun-drenched condo overlooking the city. The leaky faucet became a distant memory, replaced by the gentle hum of success. There's freedom in financial independence, a power that transcends material possessions. Looking back, I understand that the revenge wasn't about inflicting pain. It was about reclaiming agency, about refusing to be defined by their failures. Forgiveness, I learned, is a gift you give yourself. Ultimately, I chose to help Luca without enabling my parents. They sold Brandon's house, paying off the debt and giving Luca a chance. I'm in a new place and it feels pretty great. I can never forget my family and I hold no animosity. I simply choose my own destiny. In the end, it wasn't about payback but about power, self-worth, and finally, freedom. Relatable? Feel that fire. Then own your story. Share this if you turned pain into power, not just revenge. Rise above, you got this.